Everyone's talking about switching from traditional cooling to immersion cooling. We have been doing immersion cooling videos on our channel for quite some times now, but the question is, how easy is it to switch from traditional cooling, air cooling, to immersion cooling? What are the steps that are involved, and what do you need to know before you do that switch? In today's video, you're gonna be doing the whole process of switching from air cooling to immersion cooling, and I'm going to be taking you through step by step on how to achieve that and do it properly without putting your hardware into risk. My name is Marco and you're watching Crypto Mining Lab. Alright, so I've been asked a lot of questions many times from customers, from people in the comments on how to, what are the steps, what is involved in going immersion cooling. So in today's video, we're going to pack everything in one video. It's going to be a long one, but believe me, it's going to be worth it. So especially if you're planning to go immersion cooling in the near future, or you're just thinking of it, so you know exactly what to expect and how much work you need to do. Because it's not just receiving the system and plug and play. It doesn't work like that. There are other steps that are involved that you need to do before even you put your miners inside the immersion tank. And for today's video, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be using a newly developed immersion cooling system called Asic Shield, which the system itself comes with everything you need. It comes with two parts: the immersion tank enclosure itself, as well as the dry cooler. The immersion cooling tank itself comes with everything you need, so it just needs power supply from your outlet. You need to supply power to the system, and it comes with the power control box, comes with the Ethernet switch, Ethernet cables, power cords, PDU, even the fan spoofers for people that wants to keep the original software. And by the way, just want to answer this question, which is asked a lot. Any type of miner, you can put it to immersion cooling. The only thing you have to think about before you do that is to solve the problem with removing the fans, because all firmwares, all softwares that the Asic miners are running on, they have the fail-safe feature. Just in case of the fans goes off or fails, so the system won't work. So in order to go immersion cooling, you have to remove the fans, and if you can solve that problem, it means that any Asic miners can be submerged and can be run on an immersion cooling setup. And there are actually two ways to fix the problem with the fan. The first is to go with an aftermarket firmware, which doesn't support usually all the Asic miners, mostly antminers from Bitmain. But if you're using a different brand, or you're gonna keep your original firmware, you're just gonna go with a fan spoofer, where you simulate the fan speed, the fan signal, so your miner will be hashing properly. So the hardest part actually for setting up an immersion cooling setup is to prepare your miners first, and the second hardest part is to connect your immersion tank to your cooling system, which is a dry cooler, and everything in between, including piping, installing your water pump, and everything else. So let's start with the first part, which is preparing the miners for submersion. Alright, so first of all, let me give you an overall look at the whole system, and as you can see, we set up the whole system this way, so you guys can see how it works exactly and all the components you need if you want to use one of these immersion cooling systems. Let's start with the immersion cooling tank itself. So here what we have is the oil pump, the heat exchanger. This is where the actual heat exchanging happening between the oil loop and the water loop. Second thing is the power to the power supply to the immersion tank itself. So as you can see here, we have these 25 square meter cables. This is running on the 220 volts, and let me show you inside. So this is the power box. This is where everything is controlled. So what we have here is some plugs for the pump itself, as well as the Ethernet switch or the router. So now let's go inside the immersion tank itself. Here we have the hot side, and this is the hot side and this is the cold side of the tank. Here we have our Ethernet cables, came from the rear, and here we have the hot side with an oil filter, so to filter anything left or any debris, any dust that got into the immersion tank. This is removable and can be cleaned easily. Let's go to the rear side. Here we have the PD. So this will be supplying power to 6 miners, and each plug will be using one cable that has 2 power plugs to the miner. So one cable for each unit. So just to give you an overall how much power consumption you will expect from the system, excluding the miners themselves. So what we have here is the oil pump is rated at 380 watts, and then this is the water pump. This is rated at 750 watts. This is very capable. It can send the water up to 8 meters high. So it's gonna be enough for our setup. So, and what we have here is the fans, motor from the dry cooler. Each fan consumes up to 250 watts. So total consumption for the dry cooler is 500 watts. Okay, so after this brief introduction, what we're gonna do now is prepare our miners. So the next section will be preparing our miners for immersion before we do anything else. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do that. Alright, so the first thing you need to do before you put your miner into an immersion cooling system, you have to consider cleaning the miner itself. And when I say cleaning, means cleaning it from any dust that is stuck inside you know, the dashboard, the heat sinks, as well as the power supply. So the first thing to consider is clean your miner before you put it inside, because you don't want your electric fluid to be contaminated by the dust or the debris from whatever it's inside the miner right now. Even though the immersion cooling, the return pipe has an oil filter, but try to get as much as possible out of the miner before you put it inside. And the second thing is you have to prepare your Asic miner for immersion cooling. Means you have either use an aftermarket firmware where you can disable the fans, or you need to use a fan spoofer, a fan simulator, so to deactivate all the fans. So when you put it inside the immersion tank, it doesn't report an error for fan not functioning. So we're gonna go ahead. The first thing I will show you how to clean this. I'm sure most of the people know how to clean this already. This is gonna work for any type of miner. So it doesn't matter if it's an antminer, if it's a whatsminer or whatever. So this is gonna work for any other model. I'm gonna go ahead, remove everything. The fans actually are gonna be removed, so we don't need them anymore. But what we need to keep is the cover, which is behind the fans. So we need to keep that. So we just need to remove the fans. But for now, I'm gonna remove everything because I'm gonna clean the miner. I'm gonna even go further, maybe even cleaning the frame with water, just to make sure that it's clean before I put it back, before I put it in the immersion tank. The same thing goes for the power supply as well. We need to remove the fans. because you don't want the fans from the power supply creating any disturbance for the oil flow, because the miner will be sitting upside down, which means that these fans gonna be blowing downwards, and the flow within the tank is upwards. So we have to remove these as well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, disassemble the whole thing. Alright, so I just finished taking apart the whole miner. As you can see, it disassembled the whole thing. Here we have the power supply, hash boards. The hash board actually looks really clean since these heatsinks were upgraded, so the hash board is still clean. But as you can see, the frame is not that clean, so it has to be cleaned really well before we put it in the immersion cooling tank. And you have all the parts here. Just remember to keep any extra screws that you take out of the miner, as well as the fans, just in the future if you decide to go back to air cooling, so you can use them again. These are the covers I was talking about for behind the cooling fans. So these gonna be put back, so the liquid will be flowing through this to the top of the miner. Okay, what I'm gonna do, take apart the power supply for cleaning, as well as taking out the cooling fans for the power supply, or you can just disconnect them internally so they don't run. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, give it some cleaning and come back to you guys. Okay, just to give you a quick look how much dust is accumulated within this power supply. As you can see here, you see this is all dirt and dust everywhere. That's why it's very important to clean it. And this fan has to be disconnected. They have to be disconnected and removed, or you can just leave them there. At least you need to disconnect them from power so they don't run. And also here, as you can see, there's a lot of dust here in these covers. So that's why I said it's very important to clean the whole thing before you put it inside the immersion. Alright, so I just finished really cleaning everything, including, you can see the frame. Actually, I washed it, so it looks really clean from the inside. No dust, nothing. And all the other components, they can be washed, and they don't have electronics on them. All those parts, I already washed them with water and cleaned them properly. As you can see, hash boards are pretty clean. Cleaned the control board as well, and the power supply. And as you can see, I already took off the cooling fans for the power supply. Just keep them for the future if you need to switch back to air cooling. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put back everything together and show you how your miner should look like before you put it in the immersion tank. Alright, so done assembling the whole thing together. As you can see, this is how it should look like after taking all the fans and cleaning up. The cover for the control board, you have the choice to put it back or just leave it like this. And this is ready to be submerged, as you can see. And actually this will be upside down, just like this, just show you the position. So it'll be sitting like this. The fluid will be flowing from here, and for the power supply as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for all the other 5 units, and we should be ready to go. Okay, before we go ahead and put this into the immersion cooling system, what we need to do is either install a firmware where we can disable the fans so the miner will run properly without having the fans, or if you want to keep the original firmware, you need to install the fan spoofers here before you put your miner into the fluid. If you're gonna go with the aftermarket firmware, me personally, I'm using BrainOS, but you can use any firmware you like, as long as it gives you the option to
deactivate the fans so the miner will run properly. It takes roughly 30 seconds. The only thing you have to do is plug in your micro SD card, power up your miner, and it takes about 30 seconds. Once you see the lights blinking, then it's done. Power off your power supply, and then remove the SD card. In the case of the S19, currently no S19 series can be flashed, so the firmware can be run on the SD card. So just keep in mind, if you're running an S19 series, you need to have a micro SD card for each miner. So you load your software, the firmware here, and you plug it in. It's gonna stay there permanently. And if you unplug it, you will be running on the stock firmware. Alright, so just finished cleaning all the units, and all of the miners are ready for immersion. So, and you can see here the tank is still empty. All the wiring is ready. I'll show you the PDU in the rear. As you can see here, the PDU is already linked and all the wires are on. So what we're going to do first is put all the miners inside before we add the dielectric fluid. So we don't want to put too much, so just enough to run the miner. Okay, as you can see, put all the machines inside now. All the miners are in, and did all the connections for Ethernet as well as the power. So just let me give you a quick look on an idea how to connect both the immersion tank as well as the dry cooler. So you create your water loop that carries heat from the heat exchanger from the dielectric fluid outside to the atmosphere. So what we do here is, it's very simple. What we have here is, this is the immersion tank. You don't have to worry about it. It comes with all set up. You have all your cables over there. You have your PDU, your Ethernet cables, and everything is down here. The oil pump, the heat exchanger, everything is installed. The only thing you need to supply is some kind of power to the immersion tank, and that's it. That's the only thing you have to do here. The next step is you have to connect it to the dry cooler, and the way we do that is very simple. As you can see here, we have, and the bottom one is the inlet for the heat exchanger, and then the outlet is on the top. And the reason we do that, we put the pressure on the bottom just so we create more pressure, pushing the water up. And then the water comes out from the outlet of the heat exchanger, going all the way back here. As you can see here, what we have here is we have the this is a Persian valve. So you need to I will explain in a moment. So it goes through the dry cooler, recirculate back to the water pump. The easiest way to do it is you supply water to your, as you can see here, we have a water supply to our water loop. This is a permanent water supply with some pressure. So in order to pressurize and purge your the whole thing, your water loop, get all the air, any air bubbles left within the system. What we have here is a water supply going just next to the pump. So what you do is you open your water supply and you let it run for a few minutes just to supply water to the whole system. And then what you do is, we have a Persian valve here which we installed on the top. The reason why is it has to be on the top, so higher than your water supply, so any air left in the system will come out from here. That's really easy. What you do is, after you release water, start to fill up, you turn on your pump to create some kind of pressure, and then what you do is you just open this valve and you will see the air bubbles coming out of here. And you keep doing that until you don't see any air bubbles coming out of your system, which means that all the air is out of your system and you're good to go. And what you do is you close this one, you can close this one as well, and then you're ready to run your immersion cooling system. All right, so everything is ready. The immersion tank is full of dielectric fluid. Just to make sure that we have enough, what we do is we will turn on our power. It's already on, so we're already supplying power to the immersion tank. And then what we have to do now is, first thing we have to do is turn on the oil pump, just to make sure that we have enough fluid. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on and see how, as you can see, it's flowing, and the liquid dielectric fluid is enough, so it's covering all the miners and there are no air bubbles. What happens is if you don't have enough fuel, the pump will suck the fluid faster, which will create some kind of bubbles, because the pump will be sucking air out of there, and then that air will be coming out of, you know, in the hot side of the tank. So once we make sure everything is good, we go ahead and turn on our switch here for the PDU, and we should be good to go. All right, all the miners are on. The next thing we need to do is power up. All right, so as you can see, everything is turned on. Miners, water pump, and we get some noise from the dry cooler. We have these two high-speed fans. Basically, that's the all noise you get from the whole system. And obviously, when you put the pump and the dry cooler outdoors, then you're left with no noise at all. Now the next step is to go ahead and configure all our tools and everything and start mining and see how much temperatures we're getting. Alright, so the first thing you want to do after you let your system run for 5 to 10 minutes is check for any oil leaks, especially here where we have the liquid pump recirculating the fluid. Also check all the connections for water cooling as well, the water pump, and of course the dry cooler. So far we have no leaks, and it's been running for about half hour. All miners are running perfectly. Actually, I had a problem with one of the miners. Not sure why it didn't work. The last one, so I just disconnected. I had to put it out and see what's going on. But so far, so good. Let me show you the temperature of the fluid. I'm using two different sensors. So this is the extra sensor that I'm using, just to make sure that the temperature is good. And let me show you the cams on the actual cams on the miner. Yeah, so 67. Okay, that will be all for today. Stay tuned for the next step where we're going to be using aftermarket firmware to overclock the T17 series and show you guys how much we can push the hash rate. Alright, so the system has been running for more than an hour, which gives us enough time to check the temperatures and everything. So far so good, no issue with the temperatures with the miners. The only issue is that I'm using 3 miners at the moment, and I will tell you in the moment why I'm using only 3 miners. Let's first check the fluid temperature here. So the fluid temperature is at 40 degrees Celsius, and the threshold for overheating is set at 55 degrees. And let me give you a look at the temperatures here. Have a look. So it's been running for 1 hour and 17 minutes. Temperatures are around the 50s. The reason why I'm using only 3 miners is because I try to, I don't have enough fan spoofers to run them all on the original software. So I try to switch to an aftermarket firmware, but what happens is it didn't work well. For some reason, it was reporting really high temperatures. When I switched back to the original software, the temperatures were settled down, no problem at all. So I need to use a different software, or I need to use fan spoofers with the original firmware. So basically, the whole system is working perfectly, no problem, no leaks, no overheating, nothing. And just to show you guys how hot is it here, just have a look at my face. I'm literally sweating, and the reason why is because the temperatures here are around 38 degrees, 36 to 38 degrees, and the humidity is about 80 to 90%, which is really high. So pretty sure if the system is working here, it's gonna work anywhere around the world, except, I don't know, if you have temperatures around the 50s, which is really rare. Alright guys, so let's do some overclocking. I will just give you an example, a short example on show you the difference and the benefits of running the immersion cooling. Keep in mind the miners that I'm using right now are the T17 42 terahash. These are old machines, they've been mining for years. So you have to expect some, degradation on the chip's performance. For today's, for the sake of this example and experiment, the miners we're using are secondhand. This is a 42 terahash unit. This one is running on the original firmware from Bitmain. As you can see, it's running at 41, averaging at 43 terahash. The chip temperatures are between 74 to 76, 77 degrees Celsius. And if we have another miner here, which is the same, but running an aftermarket firmware. For today's example, I'm using the whatsminer. I've tried Brain OS, but I had some problem. The software itself has a problem with the way they calibrated the sensor for temperature. So as you can see here, we're running at about 50 terahash, so that's about 8 terahash more, which is roughly 20% extra hash rate on this old miner. And the temperatures are between 84 to 86 degrees Celsius. So we increased the temperatures by 10 degrees, roughly 10 degrees, and the hash rate by 20%. Just for you guys, if you want to go for immersion mining, immersion cooling on any Asic miner, the first thing you want to do is go to your miner configuration. After you set your pool, the first thing you want to do is go to setting. So you have to activate the immersion mode, so the software will disable, turn off the default code that comes out after taking out the fans. In this one, in this unit, I'm using the fan spoofers. So as you can see here, the fans are running at maximum speed. But here, as you can see here, I'm running on immersion mode, and the fans are not running. So this is the first thing you have to do if you want to switch to immersion cooling. And right now, this miner, I could push it more, but I'm limited. The limit here, it's not about the temperatures. The temperatures are fine, I can push even more. The only problem here is because this is an old miner and the performance from the chips are, degraded. So just give you a quick look. If I try to push more hash rate on these, it's just gonna cause problems. As you can see, this is the second hash board. It's already getting like 3 chips are not working, 2 chips actually. You can tune these 3 chips, individually. So, turn down the frequency. But for our example, I'll just leave it like that. So we've gained 20% in terms of hash rate, and around 8 to 10 degrees Celsius in terms of temperatures. For
for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something, and you have a better understanding on how to set up your immersion cooling system if you decide to go ahead and purchase one. For the Asic Shield immersion cooling system, I'll leave a link in the description if you guys are interested. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified anytime we upload a new video. If you have any questions regarding immersion cooling, please leave a comment in the comment section. See you in the next video.